discovered it was Richard, he publicly reprimanded him in front of the entire company. If Roger didn't approve Richard's suggestion and noticed the factory's continued losses, he might withdraw his investment, meaning factory closure and unemployment for everyone. Richard began to doubt himself. When he returned home dejected, his wife Judy, after learning what happened, continued to encourage him, believing he would succeed. The couple then studied persuasive speaking techniques together. On the day of Roger's inspection, Richard dressed in a proper suit.
I'm so proud of you, Mo. And I'll always regret not being the man that made you the man you are today. Always. Ahora, chígatelos. You do good, Mo.
When Roger's car stopped in front of the factory, the wheels of fate began to turn. Richard's destiny was about to be completely rewritten. The time-pressed Roger immediately called Richard to the conference room for a product presentation. However, Richard felt uncomfortable sticking to his prepared script, so he decided to improvise instead. Richard held up his Flamin' Hot Cheetos and described their deliciousness. When executives asked about projected market share, Richard didn't even know what the term meant. He responded by gesturing to show the length of supermarket shelf space.
This much market share.
This gesture made the executives chuckle. When Richard went on to explain in plain language the preference for spicy flavors among everyday people, Roger stood up and mimicked his arm gestures, completely ignoring the factory manager's reports and deciding to invest in the proposal. However, when Flamin' Hot Cheetos went into production, they didn't receive a strong response and instead became slow-moving items on supermarket shelves. The factory manager decided to discontinue production of this flavor. Richard was so discouraged that he questioned his life choices. He became self-destructive, feeling like a nameless nobody from the bottom ranks who couldn't make waves. His colleague Baker, however, felt he was being too hard on himself.
Embarrassment's never stopped you before? Ask questions. You wore my ass out with them. Look here, the person I met 10 years ago wouldn't blink. He'd find a way, any way to get it done. I don't want to look you up in 20 years from now, just to find out you're still down here on the bottom. Step up.
That night, Richard couldn't sleep. Talking with his family, he realized the factory hadn't advertised the Flamin' Hot Cheetos at all. Seeing his father's worried expression, his oldest son contributed all his saved allowance to support advertising efforts. Richard suddenly had an epiphany. He found his old gang friends and hired them for guerrilla marketing. Then Richard went to the factory to boost everyone's confidence in Flamin' Hot Cheetos. When someone tried to stop him, Baker immediately interrupted. Everyone knew the spicy chips weren't slow sellers because of their taste. With increased promotion, they would definitely get a response. Richard decided to move all the